Okay. Good morning. Oh my gosh, it is dark in here. 1 second. Much better. Now you can see my ugly mug. Okay. Ooh, that is a terrible spot for that. We are gonna move you like right there. There, that's much better. All right. So, good morning, good evening, good day, good night. Where is my music? There we go. Much better. Hello, Reaper. I hope today is treating you well. Okay, so I just turn down my headphones a little bit. So, this weekend, I am going to be running a Dagger Heart character creation. We're going to be running character creation, world creation. We're going to be doing a bunch of setup so that it will be good for a West March or something like that, where it's just kind of people can kind of hop in, hop out as kind of needed. And this is going to be and this is just going to be the game to replace if something gets canceled, I'll just run a session at whatever time. That way I don't feel like I'm bleeding from so that I don't feel like I'm frothing at the mouth to try and find a way to play something. And this looks like a much simpler game to kind of just pick up and run. So first things first, we gotta get a new thing. This actually needs to be saved. This is Artificer Revised. Probably respelt revised wrong, but that's okay. Don't care. All right. So, first things first is we're going to deal with the math of Dagger. So, there are a few things that may have been noticed. We're going to it's here. So I don't have to worry about accidentally revealing things I don't want to. All right, and then we will add capture. Where's window capture? I did not add this window capture. Firefox, okay. Oh gosh, that is way too big. All right. Okay. So, this is a very handy little thing called Any Dice. Now, Any Dice does this wonderful thing, which is it calculates probabilities. I don't know how well that's actually visible on stream, but hopefully it's good enough. We're going to actually move this up here so it's more out of the way. There we go. All right, so I took the liberty of implementing what, and I'm actually going to do something here, which is I'm going to have it like that and just stretch it out to like here. That way we can just expand it to maximum height. There we go. That's a little bit better. Excellent. All right, so what this does is it does a couple things for us. It auto-calculates a bunch of stuff with dice. So this is currently calculating the results of the resulting possibilities of any set of dice that we have it roll. So we have the odds of probability of the result. So if I put in like 2d12 plus 2, for example, and calculate it, it will actually calculate the odds of what I will get on that die roll. So something that's interesting about Dagger Heart is that in Dagger Heart, you roll 2d12 and then you add together the amount, and with that amount you will get either success or failure, with fear or with hope. So there's two things to accommodate. So this on simple paper is about 54.15 or 16, because you half this and add it to 50 to get either side. Because half of this is 50, puts it like 12.5 makes it 50. So you divide this by 2, add 50, and there's your odds of getting 13 or higher on the die roll. So the average roll is 13 with a slight benefit. So, and that's just a raw roll. However, the math is never actually that simple. So, let's see here. Average of 2d6, or 2d12 rather. Uh, 2d12. I cannot type. Is 13, 54 percent odds. So that's the odds of rolling a 13 or higher, I should say. So that's the average roll, 13 or higher. And this is actually something that's really, really important with gradients, because this is a graph, not a straight line. There isn't a 5% result for each thing. The big thing here is that there is a 53% chance, or sorry, 54% chance of getting a 13 or higher. But there is something that's actually really important here, which is there is, but for 14 or higher, or sorry, not for 14, for 12 or higher, right? This is the important thing. For 12 or higher, you add the 7.5. So it's actually 61% odds. And if we round up, like we actually should, it's actually closer to 62. So needing a odds of 1 lower of the die facing or lower on the results in order to pass is actually a big deal. So your first couple of, so a +1 on, if you only need the average to succeed on a die roll, getting a +1 increases your odds of success by 8%, which is massive. So it's +8% almost, which we can see here, it's +7.5. And then for another one, it's +6.94, which is another 7%. So that means that 11 or higher on the raw die roll is +7, which is 69. Nice. Percent odds. So a +2 increases your odds not by 10% like it does in traditional TTRPGs like D&D. It actually increases it by 15, almost 16%. Or by 14, almost 15%, sorry. So, now, again, of course, it's not that simple. This is where the math comes in. If you need a 5 or better, let's say you need a 5 or better, right? You need a 5 or better, and you're sitting at a 7 or better. We'll start with a 5. Let's say you need a 7 or better to roll a 7 or better. That is, let's see here. You need another 6, 5. All right, so going from 7 or better is to go, you need to go from 7 to 3, you're only getting a 3.5%, and then you're only getting 2.75%. That is a grand total of 6.25% on a +2. So if you're going from a 7, so 7 or higher, adding a +2 increases odds by 6.25%, whereas this is something that's really, really interesting. Whereas going from a 13, or higher, adding a +2 increases odds by 15. Let me see. I'm actually gonna do the math here. 7.64. 7.64 plus 6.94. By 14.5%. So, which is more than double. So, this is something that's really interesting, is the better you're doing, the more diminishing your returns are by spending resources to improve your odds. So, and the same is true actually on the flip side. If you were rolling a 7, instead of rolling a 7, rolling a... So you went from a 7 to needing to roll a 7 to needing to roll a 5. I just realized you guys can't actually see me taking notes on my notepad in the background. Stand by. There we go. I don't know how I'm going to fit everything on here, but that's fine. I'll figure it out. So, after that, but if you, instead of going from a 7 to a 5, you go from a 21 to a 19. Right? Adding the +2. Well, the increase is slightly better because you need a 7.5 increase in odds. But a 7.5 for a +2 is less good than a +2 on a d20, because that's +10. So there's actually a very important note here, I would say, which is in Daggerheart, odds are only good if there is a decent chance of already making it. And this is actually kind of important. Odds in Daggerheart are only good if you're already likely to make it. Because stacking odds, when the odds of your success are, if you need a DC 20 and you have no bonuses, your odds of success are very, very low. Now, here's the caveat. It is of course, not that simple, because there is one more thing that we haven't accounted for. Rolling pairs. This throws a whole... This throws a whole whack of math into a mess. So, how many pairs are there in Dagger Heart? Or in a 2d12? Well, that's easy. There's 12 results. Because there are 12 results that also make 13. How many results are in 2d12? Well, that's also very easy to find out. And did I close the calculator? I did. Didn't mean to close the calculator. We actually need to move this to like down here. All right. There is 12 possible results by 12 possible results. There's 144 possible results. So, here's the catch. There is 12 auto successes. There are 12 automatic cases where you always win. So, how does this mess with things? Well, this means that, let's take a look here. How many pairs are there that are above? So let's stick back to the 13. With a 13 needed with a DC 13. DC 13, we already established this. Base odds, 54%. Well, again, it's not that simple. So we don't, fortunately for the math, we don't have to account for every pair that's above 13. We just have to account for every pair below that. Now, fortunately, that's easy. What's the closest pair to 13? 12, 2 6s. That means there are 6 additional results. What is the probability of rolling 2d6? Or rolling a pair that is 6, that is 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s, or 6s on 2d12? Well, we know what the odds of that is too, because there's only 12 results that make 13. So that means that we just take half of this and add it. So your odds of success is actually not 54%. Or 54.15, I should say. I shouldn't say that's 0.14. It is plus 6 probability. Plus 6 possibilities. Which is actually another 5.144%, which actually bumps this. Plus 4, which is plus 4.15%. So, of rolling 1 through 6 pairs. So, this means that we actually have odds. So DC 13, odds are actually 58.33%. So a DC 13 is actually very much weighted in the favor of the players. That's almost 60% of the time, 60-40 odds. Now, what does this mean? This means so, what does this mean? What does this mean? Well, a DC 15 is considered difficult. By large air quotes, difficult. Now, what is that? Well, if you have a +2, this is easy for you. But by using our own formula that we have here, 15, okay, 15 means that we subtract a grand total, because we already found the math for it, means we subtract 7 and 8. I think the actual amount is a little bit different than that. It's 7.64 and 1 point. It's 14.5. There it is. What is going on with my music here? I'm going to reduce this a little bit. Let's fix this. Good. Alright, it's 14.5. So, by default, this means that if the odds are 15, we subtract 14.5. .55. Right? Sorry, 58.33 minus 14.55. Which means that, which equals, so 43.78% odds. Right? No. And this is without modifiers, by the way.
Greetings, traveler.
Kitsune Kiyu, I'm probably butchering that, 12. Thank you very much for the follow. Welcome, greetings, and salutations. I hope you enjoy your stay. Going over maths. I'm also blocking shit again. Minimize you for now. And we actually don't need this right at the moment, so we'll just leave it there. Good morning from Update Central NY. Upstate Central New York. Oh, Central New York! Hey, welcome, welcome. Alright. So. No. Because there's one thing that we haven't considered in this mess, and that is there is an additional double. An additional double in the case of, call me Kit. Alright, cheers Kit, appreciate it. It'll probably end up being Kit or Kitsune or something like that, but appreciate it. Thanks for stopping by. Now, I actually want to find out the proper amount for this, but 144, sorry, 1 divided by 144 is 0.069. That is incorrect. One additional result. Yep, so we actually get to add 0.69 to our results, because there's one additional chance of auto success with a double. So we get to add about 1 additional percent to our odds of success here. Yes, it is quite nice, isn't it? So it's because of result of 7 plus 7 plus 7 equals 14 adds 0.69%, which 43.78 plus 0.69, 44.47, or about 45% odds. which is basically a difficult task in Dagger Heart, is a weighted coin flip. If you have no bonuses, mind you, this is just a raw roll, by the way. This is all just no bonuses. The math gets complicated once you start adding bonuses, and this is probably one of the reasons why I think a lot of people are not a huge fan of bell-curved probabilities. Because if you were to add to a +1 or a +2, +1 increases the odds by 7%, or more accurately, well, 7 minus, it actually increases the odds, yeah, by about 7%, because, and then increasing the odds again adds it by 15%. So, with a +1, +1 to the roll, you add 7%, or was it 6%? Yeah, 7%. I got a lot of stuff happening on here and I don't like it. Alright, I'm gonna minimize some stuff here. I don't need this. There we go. To the roll. So which is +7%. Adds or 51.47%. It's actually 51.44%. Because I have to accommodate for the 69. But with a +1, a difficult task is now a coin flip. With a +2, we don't have to accommodate for the 69 for this one. An additional 8.33. I did that math wrong. It's actually lower than that. I missed a number somewhere. Hold on, stand by. Where did I miss this? Oh. It's minus 15 from 54. That's where I missed it. I see where I went wrong. So it's actually oh wait, no. It is correct because of the doubling. Right. So we're actually back up to the roll. +8. Or 55 or 58. It's not actually 8%, it's actually 7.64. Or no, it's 8.33, but we're not counting. .33%, approximately. So a +2 is adding so much to a roll at this point. Like, it's turning it in from a 44 to a 58% odds. So if you're, quote, good, like you're using your good stat on a roll, and it's a DC 15, if you have a +1 or a +2, if you have a +1, you have a 50-50 basically. If you have a +2, you're making it. If you have a +0, it's not bad. So, and this is with a difficult DC. Whereas in D&D, in D20 systems, because that's what it actually is, D20 systems, DC 15, raw rolling, DC 15 equals 25% on +0, +1 is 30%, +2 is 35%. So this is why you see Daggerheart use such small numbers. Because if the possibility of you succeeding is very big off of the median amount of inherent difficulty. And this is where we get into something that's really, really important with the way that Daggerheart is set up. And I actually think this is appropriate. So we're gonna get rid of this. We're gonna get rid of this. And where is PDF? Put that there. And we're just gonna expand this just a little bit. This is where it gets really, really important with Daggerheart. So, Daggerheart, this is a tier 0 creature, I believe. It doesn't actually say, I don't think it is. I'm just gonna check something here. It doesn't say what tier this monster is. That's kind of annoying. Is it tier 0? It says... Oh, this is the adventure at the back. Okay, hold on. I need to scroll up a little bit here. GM principles... Locations. Difficulty for NPCs. Bullfrog. It doesn't say what tier this creature is. I assume it's... tier 0 because it's not mentioning it. So, this is where it's actually really, really important. So the difficulty of hitting this creature is an 11. And if you are rolling... This is kind of like comes back to the armor class thing of 5th edition, where most monsters in 5th edition have an armor class of like 11 or 12 at level 1. Well, armor class of... which means that you are approximately 60% favored to hit them. Now, generally speaking... you want to have your players 55% odds or better to hit, because that means that you'll be hitting, right? The game will be moving forward. Because ironically, even though 55 and 45% odds chance of hitting are pretty similar, one feels way better than the other one, because you're hitting slightly more than half the time, you are hitting slightly less than half the time. So, by default, you are actually extremely likely to hit these guys with a difficulty of 11. But you also have a +2. Which means if we plug in our handy dice checker here, if you have a +2 to your attack roll, and calculate, you will be rolling with that juicy 50. You'll be rolling with that juicy 58% odds, but with a +7. So with +14% odds, which means that you will be rolling with a +14, or +14 on that means that it is actually +4 to this. So you're actually rolling with a 72% odds of hitting a creature that has a difficulty of 11 if you have a +2 to your weapon roll. So, which is incredibly high. So you actually have 72% chance. So, which this is equivalent to attacking a monster in D&D with a +5 modifier. That is equivalent to attacking a AC 10 creature. Now, that's okay. I think that's okay, because then there's the other thing, which is dealing damage. Now, this is a bullfrog, so, whatever. This creature doesn't do a whole lot of damage unless the GM spends fear to deal an additional 2d10, because they are doing 8 damage on average. And this is 2d10 instead of 2d6. So this means that he's doing, instead of doing, what's the number here? Instead of doing 8, he is instead doing 11. Well, 11 damage is, in some cases, the major damage threshold for about, I would say, somewhere around half the classes. There's 9 classes. I think it's the major damage threshold for, I think, about 5 of them. So the GM has to spend a fear to deal 2d10, to deal enough damage to deal 2 hit points out of 5, because every character starts with 5 hit points, to do 2 hit points of damage to one creature. That's a pretty hefty investment. That's not all that threatening, and that's average, mind you. Can he hit a 20? Can he roll 20 and do a severe? Absolutely. But that's severe. That's only 1 additional hit point worth of damage. So, which, by the way, I like this. The way that this works, because this means that you can't get 1 struck from full health. It is possible for a character to take 4 hit points of damage from a single attack, and that is if you roll, which this is a variant rule, by the way, which is if you roll, I would never not use it personally, because I think it's too drastic in the player's favor if you don't, which is if you roll double the severe wound threshold, you deal 4 damage. So if you manage to roll 26, which I don't think is possible for a level 0 character without some sort of additional help, such as spending a resource or getting or doing a team up action, I don't foresee players at level 0, or rather at level 1, dealing 26 damage to deal 4 damage to this thing. Which means if you did, you could one-shot this thing. And to players, that means that you could deal 4 out of 5 hit points to a character. Now, of course, they can always spend armor to reduce it, which is kind of the point of armor. But this is where the numbers kind of get into a bit of a mess, where the benefits of adding are not always clear. So this is kind of like my initial problem with for bell curve based. The benefits of adding bonuses is not clear. And then there's one more additional aspect to this, which is advantage. So advantage means make the roll with plus 1d6. What does this mean? Well, you remember that base DC of 13 that we had. All right, where you had a 58% odds of success. Well, that adds 1 through 6. So it is a little bit more messy when we get into this. But if we go plus 1d6, calculate, now we get into really weird territory. But thank God for this. Your average result is actually 16.5. So if we needed 15 total, the doubles are the same, still add the same probability. But your odds of success is actually 50. This is not accounting for, so this is accounting in a couple of weird ways, but this actually means that if you need a 15, you're getting, oh boy, an additional 7.6% on this, I think. Hold on. You need a 15, so you need a 15 or higher. Yes. You're getting an additional 7.6 odds on advantage. So, advantage so on a DC 15, it is 58.33%. With advantage, or sorry, DC 13 odds, my bad, DC 13. With advantage is an additional 7 point, I'm just gonna make sure I have this right here. On a 13 or higher. So this means that you actually have a total of, so this is 50-50 right here, this 16.5. So we actually need to bust up the calculator for this. You actually have, let me see here, so 50 plus 7.29, 7.06. You have a 64.33 odds of success on a DC 13. Oh. And it's actually a little bit more than that. Because you have 6 chances of doubles. So, which means that you have an additional 4.15 odds. So you have a 68.5% chance. So you have a 70% chance almost odds if you have advantage on a raw roll for DC 13. Now for 15, because now a lot of this might be wondering, now I can understand the confusion here. Why am I doing the math for 13? Well, if you're good at the thing, that's actually 15, not 13. If you're not good at the thing, your odds of a DC 15 is... Let's see here. I actually need to scroll this down a little bit. Your odds of rolling a 15, which is actually very easy to find out on our handy chart here, is actually plus 7.9 plus 7. So plus 14.35. 14.3. So 64.0.35. So is, well, DC 15 is 44. Oops, is 40.4.4 or 7% odds with advantage. Is what did I say? 50 plus 14.35 plus an additional 4.15. 4.15. Did I solve for 15 before? I did. Hold on. Hold on a second here. Did I do that math wrong? Oh, I forgot to add... Oh, dear. I forgot to add the 4 and the 3 here. So that's actually... Hold on. Okay. 6.60 plus 5.9. Wow. So that is crazy. So if you need a DC 13, so if you are good at the thing that you're doing, right? You have a +2, which means that you're good at the thing you're doing at level 0 or at level 1, because that means that you're either adding an attribute or adding an experience to the thing, so a skill. This means that your odds of success on a DC 15, if you're not good at it and you have advantage for some reason, your odds go from a kind of meh coin flip to pretty good. Which, by the way, 68.5 minus 44, oops, minus 44.47. Or, so this is plus 24.03 odds, percent odds for having advantage. On a DC 13, uh, 81 minus 58.33, it is slightly less return, but it's plus but it's plus 22.67% odds. So, what do we learn? If you're good, if you are close to being good, if you have a decent chance and you get benefits, they really help a lot, right? If you're close, you get a lot of good benefits out of them. And this is close to, you know, the closer it is to 50-50, the better the pluses are. If you are further away, they are less beneficial. Right? In fact, like by getting a +2 when you are rolling the average, that is actually almost twice as good as rolling half of that. Now, the math isn't quite the same here because I forgot to account for two possible, 8, 10, and 12. So 3 possible outcomes. So there's that. This is actually slightly better, because it's actually your odds are actually by default increased, or not decreased by that amount. It is an additional 2%, but the math gets kind of weird because certain odds are removed and stuff like that. So the actual amount that you're getting out of dice when you're doing good and bad odds is actually more relevant to how probable something already is. So basically, the general consensus is the closer you need to roll to rolling a 13 or better, or lower, the better. Now, it sounds dumb, but it's increasingly crazy for that. Now, if all you need to roll is a 7 or higher, well, a 7 or higher odds without the D6. The 7 or higher odds is +7, +7, +6, +5, +5. So let's see here. 7 + 7 + 6 +5 +5. Like, if you need to roll a 7, you're already playing at 80% odds. 80 plus odds. If you need to roll a 7 or better, like, so the better. So 7 or better, approximately 80% odds. And diminishing returns. So on pluses, on raw pluses, on modifiers. Now, here's the other catch. If you have advantage throws a giant wrench into things because it's a die. So now that means that if you need a +1, well, it makes it a lot better. And you have to roll the die with it, by the way. And it's the same thing with the other way. If you need to roll, this is -5. If you need to roll an 18 or better, approximately 20% odds. And increasing returns on modifiers. So what does this mean? It means if you're, so the consensus, if you're good already, don't add. If you're really bad, don't try. Because adding a die, and the reason I say that is because getting benefits at 18 and 18 or higher, when you have to roll 18 or higher on the 2d12, because this is the big thing here. If you are at, say you need to roll a 20 on the 2d12 after your modifiers, right? It's a DC of, we'll say the DC is 25 and you have a +5. All right? Or the DC is 20 even. And you have a +2. If you are rolling at DC 20, because I closed my calculator again. DC 20 is, first off, it is 9 times 69. Or 0.69, which is 6.21. Okay. So 6.21 plus 0.69 plus 1.39, 2.08, 2.78, 3.47. Your odds of success at rolling a 20 on 2d12 is 16.62%, and that's accounting for doubles, by the way. Not good. If you are at if you have a +2, which means the DC is now, which means you now need to roll an 18. Your odds increase by the following: 4.17 and 4.86 minus 0.69, because there's a double that automatically no longer matters. 25% odds, so 24.96, so or is 24.96. Now, is that better than getting a +2 in D&D? No. In fact, it's really bad. It's only a +2 is 8.34% benefit. If the DC is 20 and you're rolling with a +2, your odds of success on that +2 is only 8.34%, putting it at a 75% chance of failure. So this is one of those things where if you're really bad at the thing, do not try it in this game. Right? D&D is one of those games where it's just like where getting a +5, getting a +1 always increases your odds by 5. It's static. It's easy to calculate. If you can get a homie to help you, they get a +2, plus 10%. That's pretty good. Plus 10% odds is pretty decent. In this game, helping someone to get a +2 is not helpful. Well, not as, but that's when the odds are so bad. But this is when you're bad. That's 8.34% help. But if you're at 13 and getting a +2, at 13, getting a +2 increases your odds with a DC of 15, going from DC 15 to DC 13, right? Getting a +2 when the DC is 15, and you now need a 15, getting a +2, making the DC -2. The odds are now up by almost 15%. Sorry, almost 14%. Almost 14%. So 14% odd boost for a +2 at something that you have a decent chance at succeeding on. Pretty good. On the flip side, if you need to roll a 7, yeah, I'm a head to bed. All right, Reaper, good. Have yourself a good evening. Or good rest, I should say. Cheers, bud. Thanks for swinging by. It's actually 25% odds, which means that this is actually 75% odds. However, this means on the flip side, getting a +2 when you only need to roll a 7. So DC 7 is 24.69%. Or sorry, the invert of that. Only has a 24.96% chance of failure. So it's actually, my bad. That's it. That's actually incorrect. It's actually 75.04% chance of success. But if you have a DC of 9, right, you have a plus, and the DC is actually 5. Is only the added 8.35 or 34%, which means it's an 83% or 0.38% chance. Again, +2 is only an 8.34% benefit. When your odds are already 75%, gaining that extra 8.3% chance is not a particularly big deal. Now, I play XCOM. I understand that the extra 8.35% matters a lot. Actually, it's less good than that, because you're actually getting rid of a single double in there. So we actually have to subtract 0.69. Which is 82.69. And this means that 8.334 minus 0.69 minus 0.05. There we go. This is actually even worse. It's actually 7.65% benefit. So at the end of the day, if you're already good, don't make it easier to make it. It's just not worth it. If you're bad, don't try. Because even with significant adding, right? Even if, like an addition, making an addition, like adding a third bonus to that does increase your odds by another 5.5%. But if your odds are bad, you're gonna need to stack a lot. Don't try, or stack a lot. Don't add, just do. The name of the game is do what you're good at. TTRPG, general TTRPG rule. Do what you're good at. And that's a general rule for TTRPGs in general. I should actually capitalize this. Do what you're good at. Couldn't remember how to spell rule for a minute there. And that's it. This is the thing that matters in every TTRPG ever. Do what you're good at. I'm in like the worst possible seating arrangement, along with my camera being pointed in a bad spot. Jeez. But do what you're good at. Like that's essentially what it means. So Daggerheart discourages really heavily, actually. Discourages haymaker rolls by a lot. It actually encourages you to rely on your teammates to do the things that you're bad at. So this is actually a bit of an interesting conversation, because I was having a conversation with this. It actually appears at first glance, if you don't know the math too well, that it's better to like diversify your skills and things like that. And maybe that's true. But it also looks like building yourself with clear strengths is still the way to go. So they may have actually found a solution to a very big problem that I have always had with most TTRPGs, which is TTRPGs by and large benefit you by building tall, because you get static benefits that always stack up. Whereas the static benefits only stack up if you need to be good at something. But any other time, but if you're not good at something, your odds of success are actually really bad. And your odds of success, if you try, isn't very good either. Even if you're stacking some bonuses. So you actually need to be... You still need to build tower, actually. Kinda unfortunate. Not gonna lie. Now, maybe you don't need to build as tall. I don't know how available your options are for building taller in Daggerheart are. But it looks to me like I actually should take a look at the leveling system again, the leveling up system for this. But it looks to me like you can add one to your modifiers, like your attributes. And then the other big weird one is if you can increase an experience, which means that effectively you can improve your odds by +2 every 3 levels. If my memory serves correctly. So if it's +2 for every 3 levels, it's gonna get pretty out of hand. That means that your numbers are gonna increase to +9. Get bonuses of a grand total of +6 by level 9. So that means that DC 20s are within reach, but are definitely hard to meet. Duncan stamp. Okay. Hey, what's up? I'm curious. Do you play D&D? Like Star Wars D&D? I do not. Star Wars has always been a weird setting for me, personally. I play D&D a lot, actually. I am running... I run a lot of games. I'm running 2 games on Saturday. I play in a Starfinder game, and I am holding session 0 for 2 games next week to add to my to my busy schedule. So I will be running 4 games a week pretty soon. I've always kind of wanted to try Star Wars, not gonna lie, but I would never run it. I actually, like, being, the Starfinder game that I'm in is very, like, Guardians of the Galaxy kind of style of a space campaign, or space game. So, I actually kind of like it a little bit more than Star Wars. Personally. Also, the GM is kind of a wacky nut, so she comes up with some really funny ideas on a regular basis. And there's actually one more thing that we haven't even considered here, which is hope versus fear generation. So this is where we get into the fun thing, which is the generation of hope and fear is not based off of like success or failure. It's based off of whether or not one die rolls higher than the other. I'm not sure if there's a way for me to make this thing do that, but we can just do the math on it. So the math on this is actually quite simple. So for every possibility, there is a chance that it rolls higher. So if we have H. No. And then we have F. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All right. Well, if you roll 1 with hope, there is 1 odd. There's 1 chance. Because you have to roll double. With 2, there is 2 chances. 3, there is 3 chances. 4, there's 4 chances. 5, there's 5 chances. 6, there's 6 chances. And you see where this is going all the way up. So, what does this mean? This means that there is a grand total of oops, actually. Seven, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. This means that there is a grand total of, we'll do the math real quick, 12 plus 11 plus 10 plus 9 plus 8 plus 7 plus 6 plus 5 plus 4 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1. There is 78 chances. Does anybody know what 78 chances are? So 78 times 144, because there's 144 possibilities, 12 times 12. I did that wrong. Divided by 144 plus, or sorry, times 100. That means that we have a grand total of there is 78 over 144 odds of hope. Or we can think of it this way. 74.16, okay, or 54.16. 44.16 or 17%. What does this mean? Odds are favored by the players. Almost always. Odds are favored by the players by, in general, because it's the same thing with the 15, because if you're good at it, it has a 4.14 odds in your favor. Or if you include the pair rolling, it's actually 58.33 if you're good at it. If you're bad at it, you actually have a, wait for it, 44.5. If you get a +1, you have 50% odds, which is 1.14. Which, by the way, if you're taking a shot at a DC 15, you're almost always going to be doing it with a +1. And by the way, if you're rolling with advantage, you have that +1. Always. That's your minimum odds. You increase the odds by an additional... your odds decrease from 100% on a +1 down by 15% per die face that you need off of the advantage from there forward. So it's a little bit different. The odds get really weird at that point. But, essentially, what does this mean? Players are favored by a whopping 4.17% over the course of the game. Now, what does that so does this matter? Well, yes, actually. Because what is the average die roll in D&D? The average die roll is 10.5. Now, that means that we round up to 11. Average of rolling 11 or better is 50%. Which, by the way, if you make it so that if you roll 11 or better, that players win, games are considered fair. 5th edition doesn't work like that. 5th edition average roll of 11 or better. D20 systems. D20 system is 50%. But we don't do math like that in D20 systems, do we? No. We do it with the average of rolling 10 or better. Which means the odds are 55% in your favor. Well, if the odds are 55%, that means the players will win if they roll average. Over the course of many turns, the players will eventually win. Now, that of course doesn't mean... Now, of course, there is the big factor of plus minus 20%. The plus minus... well, not 20%. Plus minus 15% factor. Which is essentially the luck factor. Most cases. You plus or minus 3, which is essentially the luck factor, which is... There is a decent chance that they will... But that still means that they can just get unlucky. But over the course of 50 rolls, they should be scoring around rolling a 10. Now, Why is that important? Well, that means that the players are favored 4.17%. To give you an idea of how good that actually is, most popular game, what is the most popular game in casinos? Anybody know? Blackjack. So, or Big 21. So, 21 is the most popular game in casinos. Why is it the most popular game? Players have control. Right? They have factors that they can admit, not pure chance. Right? That's the big thing. Not pure chance. Players have control. Here's the catch. Without counting cards, and I'll double check this to make sure. Odds of winning blackjack. Odds of winning blackjack. So, and this is where things get really important. The odds for the player winning blackjack is 42.22%. Let me see here. I need to. Okay. So, player winning. We got the player. We got the dealer. And we have a tie. Players inherently have a 42.22% chance of winning. The dealer is a 44. I believe it's 49, sorry. So the 49.1% chance. And then for a tie, which means the cards go, it means nobody wins, is 8.48%. So this means that the house has a 10 minus 42.22. This means that the house has a 6.88% edge on the player. Because they don't care if you tie. That just means nobody wins. They don't lose anything by you tying. The house has almost a 7% edge. And they make billions of dollars every year off of this edge. This tiny edge. Put the edge, now counting cards, if you're good at it, puts the odds back in your favor. And the odds of it back in your favor is approximately 1%. So ultimately, at the end of it, and this is like based off of a ton of things of probability. But there's also the other thing, which is blackjack's based off of number of decks, which means that your odds go down. So ultimately, the house's edge based off of a number of things, if you include the big one, which is the fact that there's a bunch of extra decks in there. For example, it has stand 17s and all that other kinds of stuff, but we're not going to worry about that. Your edges are usually around less than a single percentile, usually somewhere around 0.5%. So if you have, and there's a bunch of different ways of playing it, but the big one is like if you have, say, a soft 17, a split ace, splitting ace prohibited, all kinds of different factors. But essentially, the big thing that matters is places will actually give you, but because of how big this edge is, casinos will give you better edges. And in turn, they'll do stuff like stop 17, don't split aces, all kinds of stuff to kind of put the odds back in the player's favor. Guess what? All these things that put the odds back in the player's favor still give it at least a 0.5% edge. And even with that 0.5% edge, casinos make billions of dollars every year with this tiny little edge. Now, if you get into card counting, that can actually flip the edge back into your favor. But that's why they throw you out. And ask you. That's why they ask you to leave, because even though it's not cheating, you're still taking money away from them. And they can obviously choose to not have you in the casino. So they're allowed to say, we don't want you. We don't want your service, you as a customer. So, you know, there is that. But this is the thing that always matters, is this edge always matters. So does a 4.17% edge over the course of the game matter for the players? Yes. That means over the course of a session, if you roll every 20 times you roll, the GM will get 9 fear and the players will get 11 hope. On average. So, yeah, the odds are absolutely stacked in the player's favor. And this is also true for things that players are good at. If you're good at the thing, the odds are stacked in your favor. If you're not good, if you're good at the thing, right? This goes back to it. If you're good at the thing, do it. If you're bad at the thing, don't do it. Players-based odds, if you have base odds of DC 13 is actually 58. So if you're good at the thing, you have an 8% edge. If you're decent at the thing, you have a 1% edge. If you're terrible at the thing, or you have no benefits to the thing, you have a 6%. You have a 5% deficit, which is not that bad. So it's one of those things where this goes back to the same thing as always, which is the golden rule of TTRPGs, which is do what you're good at and let others do what they're good at. And let others do what you are not. Golden rule. Now, you can't stack pillar in Dagger Heart by the looks of things. You can set yourself up to be good at a select number of things, but you can't pillar. So, I'm excited, honestly, for this. Because it looks like it's pretty... so the odds of this is actually very, very interesting to me. If you're good at it, do it. If you're not, get somebody else to do it. And the other thing also is, like, people helping, which adds a d6, is actually a massive, massive benefit. Like, a massive, massive benefit. Because adding a d6 to something adds really big odds. It is, in fact, similar to the odds that are... that are presented in 5th edition. A d6, I think, on a DC 20. I'm actually curious, what is the benefit of a d6 on a DC 20? Let's go back to our thing here. It is currently not being revealed. Pow. There we go. Let's see here. Plus d6. Calculate. The odds of a 20 getting it. So your odds of 20, which before was... so on the DC of a 20, which is 16.62, your odds then become, which there is a, what is the doubling benefactor of that? That is 9 times 69. So, clear. Oops. 9 times 0.69. Oops. 9 times 0.69. 6.2. 6.21% pairs. Okay. Which means that we can account for that in this. So this means that we have, so to roll a 20, you need to roll a total of 5.9, 5.21, 4.51, 3.82, 3.13, 2.43, 1.74, 1.16, 0.69, 0.35, 0.2, or 0.12. And then we also need to add the pairs, which is 6.21. Which brings it up to advantage. So advantage odds is 35.27, which actually almost, which is plus 20. Not even, it's plus 19. Approximately. Minus 16 point, whoops. 0.62. It's even worse. 18.65. 18.65% odds benefit. So advantage, if you're bad at it, only adds, it adds less than 20%, which advantage in 5th edition increases your odds by a static 4.5%. I think it's actually 4.6. But getting another shot at rolling the die adds an extra 5% on average. Is what the argument is. It's actually 4.6, but that's besides the point. If my memory serves, it's 4.6. But getting, which is about 22... it's about 22% odds. 22.5, 23% odds on a D20 die. So this is actually not that great. Again, this means that if you're bad at something, it's just not worth the trouble, which is 5.25. And if you have a +2, 5.52% odds on pairs. Which is 35.27 minus 0.69, and then we add the next two results. So instead of getting a 20, you need an 18. So you add 6.6, and you add 7.06. So your odds, if you have an 18, it is actually 38.24%. So your odds at advantage on an 18 is not terrible. So if you need an 18, so +5 and -5 of 13 is kind of where you start and stop adding resources. So stop adding after needing a 7. Do not add if needed to roll greater than 20 or greater than 18. So the optimal range is 7 through 18 for rolling with modifiers. And advantage. And then, of course, disadvantage adds a negative effect of these numbers as well. So if you're at 18, if you need a 13 and you roll with disadvantage, you might as well be rolling at a similar odds as an 18 almost. I actually didn't do the math on this. Minus 24.96. I think it's around 23% odds. Yeah, plus 23.28%. So this is where, yeah. So this is one of those things. So at 18 or lower, the odds of advantage are beneficial enough that it can really swing the benefit to you. At an 18. Anything prior to that, your odds are just too damn low. Or anything higher than that on the pair that you are rolling up from initial, just too damn high on the roll. If you are rolling at a 7, your odds are good enough that you don't need to make it higher. How is the roll that you need a 7? Well, if the DC is, say, 10, and you have a +3. Somehow. Now, needing a 10 and adding a +2 to make it an 8 for a DC 8 for yourself, absolutely, do it. But 7 is when you start getting those diminishing returns. But 7 and 18 are kind of where you start getting those diminishing returns. Now, of course, this right here, 7 through 8 rolling with modifiers and advantage. If you need to stop rolling, stop adding if you are above a 7, and you don't need to roll, and do not add if you need to roll greater, or more accurately, do not add or roll if needing a roll greater than 18. Now, if you're in a position where you gotta make it, you better stack pretty hard on that. Get the advantage, get the big numbers in there, because you're gonna need everything you can get after that. Because this, anything higher than this, on a die roll, on a 2d12, you're asking for failure. Anything higher, anything lower than, if you need anything higher than this, or anything, if you roll anything lower than this, it wasn't meant to be. Because the odds of rolling below a 7 is 25%. So, it's one of those things where it's like, do you want to stack the odds in your favor for a 75% chance of success? I mean, sure, but is it worth burning the resources? Well, that comes back to the other question, which is hope. You're going to have hope 50% of the time. So maybe adding that extra +2 or +3 or advantage or whatever, maybe it's worth it. Because at 7 with a +d6, your odds your odds of rolling a 7 on with 3 dice is, with advantage, if you only need a 7, or apologies. If you only need to roll a 7 on the pair and you add a die of a d6, your odds of success are in the 90%. Is just because by virtue of it being so damn high, your odds are just so big that your odds of success are that good. It's 1.75, so what are we at here? 2, like if you need a 7, if you need to roll a 7 or higher and you give yourself advantage, your odds of success are really, really astronomically high. And this is also not accounting for the fact that you get a double on the 6, on the 4, on the 2. Meaning you have 3 times minus 3 times 0.69. Your odds of success, your odds of failure is 2% if you need a 7 or higher and you have advantage. You're like, if you need that guarantee, advantage is great, but honestly, it's better spent elsewhere, I think, all the time. Now, because hope is so available, but if the DCs are like 11, 13 for these things, then it's pretty powerful. Like, your odds of success are really, really good in this game. And get out of control really fast for things that you're good at. You do get diminishing returns, but because of the ways that you can stack things, plus if someone aids you getting the D6 for being aided, if my memory serves, that's what it does. I have to double check that, actually. We're just gonna check that real quick. Making moves, fear, using the action tracker, GM die. GM advantage, attack rolls, difficulties, adversities, countdowns, GM styles. Where's advantage? Core GM mechanics. I don't want GM mechanics, I want player activities. Core mechanics, stress, action rules, damage rules. Advantage, disadvantage. represents a mechanic or either the character sides the roll PCs make an advantage of D6 of their rolls. GM always gives the player. GM may always choose to give the player the circumstances. A special color not confuse this. Blah blah blah. However, you need it. Goes for advantage. The GM are a little bit different. Okay, so GM grants advantage, disadvantage. All right. What about helping? Advantage conditions helping you. Flow of action tracker best practices. Flow of combat, death, downtime. Well, I'll look at this later, I guess. Reaction roll, special action roll, story as consequence, stress, damage, stress, realities. Here we go. Adversaries, level 0. Most level 0 adversaries are going to be, you know, DC 12s. 5 hit points, 3 hit points. DC 12s have +1s, difficulty 13. Some of these guys have difficulty 13. But these are like the tougher ones. Like, oh, then there's also like the Jackknife Lackey, which have like a difficulty of 9. Like, these guys are not tough. Yeah, these guys are all not that bad. And then we have... Are we in tier 2 yet? It doesn't... We might be in tier 2 now. It looks like we're in tier 2, because now we have the actual, like... Oh, maybe not. Oh, courier, social. Okay. Now we're in the tier 1 adversaries, which... You know, they deal decent damage physical, but then you have access to better gear and things like that. So, yeah. But tier 2 play is significant, or tier 1 play, which is level 2 plus, is a big deal because you actually can have an additional +1 to your attack rolls, an additional +1 to your skills, an additional +1 to a lot of things. You have an extra. You have the next tier of abilities. It's like level 1 to level 2 in D&D. Like, you actually spike pretty hard because of your abilities. So I'm actually kind of excited to see what happens with this. When I run my session thing tomorrow. Running a campaign, running a one-shot, running a session, downtime, scaling damage, character deaths, using campaign, building a map. Using this campaign kit, building a map, filling in space, leaving blank space, incorporating players' backstories, planning an arc, Act 1, conclusion, leveling up your party locations, arid, acrid, devote, sociology, screen, strange, tropical, underground. There's a bunch of different stuff, and this is like a bunch of landmarks and stuff that already exists in the map that they have for you. Okay. Part 5, customizing your game, homebrewing your game, balance, custom domain cards, custom adversaries, custom equipment, card templates. What's all this down in part 5? Okay, it's not there. Go to tier 3. We'll just scroll down from there. Alright. Everything below is not available in this version of the manuscript. Oh, okay. Cool. So, at the end of it all, there is quite a significant amount. I should have been viewed at the entire time. I'm so bad. I'm so bad at this. Not just keeping stuff blocked off. Can't see it. So at the end of it all, there is the odds favor those who have decent chance of failure. Right? The bonuses benefit those who have a decent chance of failure. The benefits of those that are already great can secure things with advantage, because advantage makes it so that you're more likely to secure things. Not it actually gives you it actually increases the odds that you will get the median amount, which a median amount in most cases is pretty good. Adding the d6 basically increases the odds of you rolling a 50-50 to a 13. It makes it so that you roll a 50-50 on a 17 plus. So can you just botch the roll and roll a 1, a 2, and a 1? Hope, fear, advantage? Absolutely you can. Catastrophic failure. Disaster. Nightmare. Can it happen? Yeah. Will it happen often? No. The odds of that happening are exceedingly low. In fact, rolling below a 7 without rolling the pairs, which is, well, that's a 4. So 1, 2, 1 is a 4. 1, 3, 1 is 5. 1, 4, 1 is 6. So, and then you have 2, 1, 1. Like the odds of you, like, there's so many die combinations, but the odds of you rolling that low is extraordinarily small, because the advantage die cannot be higher than a 3, because that's just, like, it can't be higher than a 3. So there's the odds of it are actually are really, really low. Oh my. So there's a 50% chance just off the advantage die that you link it. Which is kind of nuts, now that I think about it. So, I'm going to end it here. I talked for the last 2 hours about probabilities and things like that. So, I'm going to call it here. Thanks for swinging by. I know I didn't stream Monday at all. It was really, really big cleaning day here at my home. I got some more cleaning to do here, but we've done a lot, and I mean a lot, of cleaning. We pretty much turned the entirety of my daughter's room and the master bedroom on its head and the bathroom on its head. Cleaning it up from top to bottom, scrub, all the little nitty-gritties taken care of and dealt with. Today is the kitchen and the pantry. And those are always the fun ones. Those are the ones that cause immense... That just takes so much time. So, it's nice and early still. It's still 7 a.m. on my end, so I'll probably be fine. Fine? Probably? Maybe? We'll see. I don't know. But thank you very much, everybody, swinging by. For everyone that did. Really appreciate it. I am probably... You know what? Let's do something different here. Oh, do you know what simple weapons sell for the most? I am not sure I understand your question. Like, which of the simple weapons sell for the most? I don't know. Minimize this for a second here. No, I do not know which of the simple weapons sell for the most. I imagine it's probably something Like, I imagine it would probably be the mace. Off the top of my head. If it's not the mace, it's probably the crossbow. Like the light crossbow. You got me curious now. Yep, it's the crossbow. Crossbow sells for 25 GP, according to the player's handbook. Shortbow is also that much, ironically, which I think is weird because a mace would be way more expensive to make. Well, maybe not. Well, maybe not compared to a bow, a short bow, maybe not compared to a crossbow. Well, I don't know. All right, we're gonna do something here. We are going to make a map for Saturday. All right. So, let's find ourselves a seed that we like. Honestly, I kind of like this seed right here. Not going to lie. Oh, and we can make it like less of an island and more of a region. So we can make it a little more of like an archipelago or an island. I want to not have land in the bottom corner there. What if we increase the seed by 1? I kind of... This is pretty alright. Yeah, I kind of like this one. Got cutting off my forehead a little bit here. Alright. So, I kind of like this shape. Noise coastline. Ooh, okay. Smooth coastlines. Add just a little bit of noise. That's pretty good. Hill heights. Oh gosh. We don't want it super hilly. Let's make it just add a little bit of hill. Just a little bit of hill. Mountains jagged. Let's have relatively. Mountain sharpness. Does this just make them really tall? Oh! Okay. It kind of smooths them out into... Okay. Yeah, let's make it relatively smooth on the map so it's a little bit easier to, like, see what's going on here. That's pretty good. I like that. Ocean depth. That just, like, make it dark. Yeah, it makes it super dark. Let's... What about here? We want a relatively dark ocean. There we go. All right, biomes, wind angle. Oh, that creates rain shadows. So if the wind is angled like that, the wind is coming from this direction, and this captures all the moisture from the sea and causes this to go gray, so to speak. So wind angle, and that's for every set of mountains. That's cool, actually. We want a very arid kind of desert, or do we want it really fervent and green? And if we really boost the rain shadow, what if we change the wind angle to something like right here and get rid of some of the raininess? That's a lot more. Yeah, that makes a lot. So you end up with like a little bit of a dry patch here, but up here is like super is like really deserty. I'm gonna change the angle a little bit further, actually. So you end up with more of like a sort of like slightly grayer, slightly less green here, but you get really like lack of green in here. But there is a river. Let's actually change the wind angle just a little bit further. So there's like this patch of desert in here. I actually kind of like that. Evaporation. Oh! It kind of greens out the further distances. The further distances of lands a little bit. We put evaporation really high. You see these areas kind of darken because this is on the north side of those winds. So it basically reduces the distance of the rain shadow. Okay. There's a little mountain here to help with that too. Alright, rivers. Get a lot of the small mini flows. Large river mini flow, large river width. Flow. So let's reduce the number of. Let's reduce the large mini flow. Reduce the width a little bit. And this is how we explain all of this greenery, is with these massive rivers. All right. Light angle. Oh, where do we want the light to angle from? I kind of like the default angle. Slow. I don't see that too. All right, let's do this here at the bottom. So biome colors. Oh, we can grayscale it. That's pretty cool. Outline water. Outline coast. Outline threshold. Outline strength. Outline depth. We can turn this down a little bit. Mountain height. We can make them really freaking tall. Oh my. Let's make them kind of manageable high. Oh gosh, no. Tilt. We want a slight tilt. Oh, you can make it inverted. That's actually really cool. Flats. Oh, just the flat light. I'll turn down the overhead just a little bit. We'll increase the flat. Lower the ambient slightly. Slope. Alright, so I want to tilt this a little bit further, I think. If I have 0 tilt here, if I tilt it like that, it's not very tall at all. So I only want the slightest bit of tilt. Just so that you can see what's going on. I'm actually going to increase the mountain height just slightly, just so that you get a better view of kind of what's going on. At which point, we need to zoom just slightly, and then move it a little bit to the X side. Just slightly up. And there we go. Oh, not quite that much. Let's actually make this slightly less, or slightly more island. Okay, okay. I like the angle that I have it sitting at. Let's add a little bit of water to this. There's a nice big river in there, so I don't want to change that too much. I'm going to add just a little bit of water right here. I want to add a little bit of valley. But, okay. Not what I was originally... I think the tilt is messing it up. So let's get rid of the tilt. Yeah, it's messing with it a little bit. I'm gonna add a little bit of land there. I want to add a little bit of water here. And a little bit of water right here. And I want to add a little valley here, a little bit of grass there, a little grass here, and we're going to add like a little mountain here, a little valley around it. There we go. Alright, and then we go back down over to here, which is we go back down to the tilt. Until we just start to see water on the bottom. There we go. This is a much better map than the one I already have and had, in my opinion. Let's see. What was this other map? I want to take a look at this real quick here. If it'll load. There we go. Oh, I made it like way more intense on the outlining and the water and all that. Alright. We're going to increase the intensity. Outline thresholds. No, we keep that as high. What was the outline depth? We kept the increase the depth and outline strength. Yeah, there we go. Where's the water? For the outline for the water. I think I had increased depths. But I kind of like the way that this one turned out. Alright, so there's the map for Saturday. Oops, nope, didn't want to do that. I want to keep the hills relatively tame. There we go. Alright. Save image as. Yes. Alrighty. Excellent. So, that's where I'm going to call it with it. Oh, lay off. We don't want you. Alright. But yeah, that's just about it. I'm going to call it here. Thank you very much for swinging by, everybody that did. I have a healthy skepticism of how Dagger Heart is going to roll out. Do I think it's going to do well? Ultimately, I think after a lot of playtesting comes in, and a lot of people kind of express their opinions on it, we'll see what happens. But I foresee this becoming a relatively popular game. I think Dagger Heart ultimately is going to be a pretty popular game. I don't think it's going to be huge. I think it's going to be big. Will it replace D&D? Absolutely not. The fan base of Critical Role is not great enough that it will kill D&D. It is the same thing with Pathfinder. Or sorry, not with Pathfinder, with MCDM's system. I don't remember what they're calling their system, or even if they even have a name for it yet. I actually don't know. I haven't been keeping up with that. These systems are powerful, and they will definitely see success. That much is for certain. But I do not foresee them toppling over D&D, unless D&D actually becomes garbage. If they start riddling it with microtransactions and things like that, kind of like how they expect to, people will simply go elsewhere for their tabletop games. And, like, you know, the numbers don't lie. Baldur's Gate 3 was a massive success, yes. But the main reason that it was a massive success is because there was a lot of stuff that was put into that to make it work. And I mean, if the goal is to try and do it with AI, it ain't gonna happen. Not yet. So, we'll see what happens over the course of the next couple of years. But if they start riddling it with microtransactions, where it's like, oh, if you want to have this class in your game, you have to pay this, or you have to pay this, you have to pay that, you have to pay that. Well, it ain't gonna work, unfortunately. Most people that play TTRPGs at large are clever people. So they're going to look for alternatives. Go look for alternative ways and measures and means. Or just play older systems like they did in the past. Or they'll just do what they did when 4th edition came out. And that is they'll just play 3.5. Continue to play 3.5. Or move to Pathfinder. So who knows? Maybe Dagger Heart will get, well, amongst the rubble, spring forth free and fly into a beautiful sunset and create something fantastic. But who knows? I don't, but we'll see. But yeah, thank you very much for swinging by, everybody that did. Really appreciate you guys. And yeah, we'll be back later this evening. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do. I might make some monsters. We'll see what happens. But until next time, guys, appreciate you all. Have a nice day.